it's a slow burn.
Yeah. And slow burns can be healthier as well, because
I
I do
think
think sometimes if you meet someone and you're like, the adrenaline's all over the place, like chemistry often is insecurity, right? So it's like, sometimes if you meet someone and you're like, and I really go off chemistry, like because I'm so content single, it takes a lot to make me want to move out of that zone, right? So therefore chemistry is such a big thing for me, probably more than a lot of my married friends who valued companionship and friendship, and he's got good qualities, he speaks nice of his family, like they probably don't, and that was also is also reflected in the jobs they go for. So I work in the media, which is almost an gambling in itself. You have really strong highs, you have really low lows. It's very unstable, but you do it for the high payoff, right? And so the same with me, chemistry is really important to me when I'm meeting someone. But then sometimes chemistry is just that, like chemistry is going to be prolonged if that person's unreliable often. So it's kind of becomes like an addictive drug, doesn't it? If they text you loads for a few days, you're like, oh my God, it's going really well. And then they don't for a day, and then they text again. Your head can know this is dangerous territory here. Like, why is he being inconsistent? But your heart's a bit like, oh, he text. Like, do you know what I mean? And so it's, yeah, chemistry can sometimes be actually where the fight or flight is going through your veins.
So when you say chemistry, I'm assuming you talk about physical chemistry, right? Like sexual chemistry? Like attraction? Physical attraction.
But also for me, it's not, like I feel like I'm almost a little bit demisexual, which is a term I heard Talisa talk about recently on I'm a Celebrity, which is that looks are, and when girls say this, everyone rolls their eyes, but and sometimes some men, I've not heard men say it, but I'm sure they're out there, that looks aren't as important, it's more getting to know the person. So for me, yes, sexual chemistry, but not just purely like lust, it's like also like thinking they're really funny, like loving like maybe the way they talk about their passions, they might talk about something, like it's not purely like I want to get into bed with him, but it's like I want to be special to him.
Yeah, so it's basically a guy who comes across initially very exciting for
exciting, yeah, right.
Amy, I say this with love. But I think that is a big part that is restricting why you're not finding maybe what you're looking for. Because people who are in healthy relationships, they choose them because of the values and how they treat them. And a lot of women will say, actually, they'll be like, yeah, when I first met my husband, like I wasn't too fussed about him. And then we spent time and I was like, oh, he demonstrated how good of a man he was, how he treated me. I felt safe, seen and heard with him. And the reason I say this is because I think a lot of younger women, especially, they prioritize the chemistry so much, have a bunch of bad experiences, right? Maybe even go through trauma, etc. And then they get to a certain point where it's like they just want a man to be good to them, but then the guy who was good to them is already married off to someone because somebody chose him for the values that he has, right? So, and it's the same with guys. Guys who are like, I'm just going to choose the most attractive girl, the girl I have the most chemistry with, but then she doesn't bring those values. And then wondering, why is every girl I'm choosing, she's just not what I'm looking for? I'm like, because you're choosing for the wrong reasons.
100%.
Does that make sense?
100%. I think it's sometimes easier to identify that in men. Like I sometimes see men get carried away because they're like, oh, look how gorgeous this girl I'm dating is. And I'm like, what else about her? They're like, oh, no, but she's really fit. And it's like, that's so frustrating. Whereas for women, like I said, more things contribute to that excitement. Yes. So that can sometimes make it more murky territory because you're getting excited by qualities they have, but they're not necessarily the reliable qualities. However, guys are very clever. So you're absolutely right in that there's a pattern if you're always going for chemistry and then getting hurt. And then eventually, are you just going to get exhausted of that and realize that there's other things that keep your your cortisol, your like at a nice stable level, and you get too old to be on this roller coaster and you think, I just need to actually like know where I stand with someone. But sometimes it's not always as black and white as like someone's really exciting, like he's like the jock and he's like all these great things going on and whatever. Sometimes they also can come across as very reliable because they're also after the end prize, which is sex. And if a man is only after one thing, then they're probably more likely to get dazzled by the shiny thing. Do you know what I mean? And there's probably sometimes no limits to what a man will do to try and get that, even if that is pretending to be someone they're not. And unfortunately, by the time you realise it, as a woman, you're in quite deep. And as women, we can be quite forgiving. And I mean, for myself, I analyze them. So, the reason he's doing this is because I know he's got a bit of a broken home, or he really struggles. He's short and therefore he's like insecure. And you make excuses for them. And this is how years of your life can get wasted, right? Because he's hooked you into a level of depth. You're trying to save him. But in the end, you're only hurting yourself.
True. But I think there's something else that can happen that is important to acknowledge. He can be reliable, consistent, all those good qualities. But it can happen where if he's maybe getting to know a few women, he's dating a few women, and then when he's decided, oh, this is the woman I want to pursue, if that woman isn't you, then it can seem, no, he just used me for that point. That the things about him wasn't genuine. And it's not that those things weren't genuine, but just because the landscape is, if a woman's dating several guys, because every guy has been that guy where he's done the right thing for a girl and she just didn't like him.
Yeah.
She just didn't choose him. Do you know what I mean?
And then, but I think that makes then damage more for the next guy. Do you know what I mean? It can be a bit of a cycle. Very few men are happy to be single, to reflect on that rejection and think, right, I'm going to like work on myself.
No, I disagree.
Really? I think men struggle being single way more than women.
No, what I mean is this, as in men do reflect on why they got rejected, and then they work in the areas so they can be the person who's now dating multiple women and is doing the rejection, which is why that's what's happening now.
As in, a lot of players were actually good guys that were hurt and now are trying to...
Of course.
Yeah.
So what I mean is this, here's the thing, right? You said about chemistry, right? Essentially what we're talking about is attraction triggers. The main attraction triggers for men is the looks.
Yeah.
For women, you're right, there's multiple. It could be looks, confidence, funny, intelligence, attraction triggers. Now, the attraction triggers do not say anything about a person's character or their intention. So a lot of guys' experience is when they're younger and they're like, they hear the girl that they like in class, I just want a guy who's nice to me, who's good to me, all that, who's just there for me. And he does that. And then she friend zones him, or she still ends up going with a different guy, etc. Then guys have two choices. They either continue being what they're being because that's what they're hearing from said girl, or maybe a few girls, etc., and continue. And this is where guys can build resentment, because it's like, I'm being what you want, but you're not choosing me.
Yeah.
Or they can take a page from, okay, what is it that she is actually choosing? Yeah. Like, what is it about this guy that she's actually choosing? And what guys learn is that, okay, it's not necessarily that a guy is nice, but that he is competent. It's not necessarily that he's there for her, but it's that he excites her. It's not necessarily that he is, has those deep, meaningful chats, but that he is funny and he can bring lightness to her life and excite her and those things. It's not that because, he opened the door for her. It's because he got in the gym and he's in great shape. Yeah. Right? So then the smart guys, so to speak, start investing in those areas, and then they start getting the results, and like, oh my goodness.
They start building themselves up, basically.
Yeah, but then they also start getting the results where they're like, wow, this is actually what women respond to. Because
when women say, oh, we want a nice guy, and then when there is a nice guy, they're like, oh no, it wasn't him.
Yeah,
it's not really because the guy was nice. Like, men will say like, oh, nice guys finish last. But if you actually bring a lot to the table and you're nice, we will put that on. We'll be like, oh my God, he's like really successful. He's funny. He's this, that, the other. And he's just so nice. We won't see that as a negative. Nice is just the word we use to cover up the fact that you're just not exciting.
Why do women say they want a nice guy if they know that's actually what they're trying to express?
Because nice is so open to interpretation. So nice, if it means we want someone who treats us, it is, right? Though it's such a bland word, like nice. Okay, it's not a strong word. If nice was a person, they'd just be sat in the corner like, I'm nice. They wouldn't be like, they wouldn't walk into the room and be like, I'm nice. Yeah. No, you walk into the room, you're Mr. Exciting, you're Mr. Alpha male, you're Mr. Dominant, you're Mr. Charismatic.
Yes.
So if you're nice, as in you're kind to us, you're thoughtful, you're respectful, they're qualities we adore. They are top of the list.
From the man that you want.
From the man that you want. But you need to...
That's what they miss out though.
Yeah, from the man you want. If you're just nice, my nan's nice. I don't want to, do anything with her. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, nice is just like, if you went out for a meal and it was nice, you're going to rush to go back to that restaurant? No.
I agree with you. But I think this is why guys get confused, or they're like, whenever they roll their eyes whenever they hear a woman say, I just want a guy who's nice, and they roll their eyes, because it's like, the part you're missing out is the guy that you want is nice is the guy that you're attracted to. And the biggest issue with guys isn't that they're not nice, it's that they are not attractive to women. So when a guy's like, how do I get a woman? And woman's like, just be nice. He's like, well, I've been nice.
No, I know.
That's not what it is. But it's like, okay, here, bro. This is why you're not getting the women, bro. You're still living at home. You haven't worked on your fitness. You're not that confident, right? And you don't have a passion for something that you can develop competency in. Also, maybe you need to work on being a bit more masculine so she feels safe with you, right?
Yes, that is so true. Masculine energy is so... it's not given as much appreciation as it should. I feel like it's started to become a bit of a TikTok trend talking about masculine energy, and then women just want to be in their feminine energy.
Yes.
And I do think there is a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes nice guys can fall into the almost feminine energy. Like we don't want to date a friend. So I have my friends who are nice. In fact, they're better than nice. But if you're nice, it's like you might feel safe around them. And that is actually really valuable as a woman, like especially as you get older, just feeling safe in a guy's company.
Of course.
But you need to be a bit of a provider as well. And I think if you were a nice provider, great. But if you're just nice, it's like you're beige, you're blending in the background.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I think I really loved what you said when you're like, right, you need to get down the gym, you need to, own your own place or not be at home with your parents or whatever. For me personally, those two qualities don't bother me. As in, like, and I know for a lot of women it will.
I'm just saying that as an example.
I agree. But and I think you're hit on something really accurate there, which is I'm not bothered too much if you're not in shape, or I'm not too bothered where you're living, but I want you to have a passion where these things are going to potentially change, particularly the living situation. So I love a guy that's disciplined. So if he said to me, I'm living at home, but I save X amount every month, or I'm studying and I'm going to do this, and you're actually doing a sacrifice in the here and now for the reward later on, that's incredibly attractive. That's a future I want to be. Yeah, I want to be part of that. And also it shows that you can sacrifice the instant pleasure for the long-term gain, which is loyalty in a relationship, right? Whereas a guy that maybe says, oh, I'm going to work in finance, even if he hates finance, but it gets me a flat near Canary Wharf. And on paper, yeah, he's got all these amazing qualities, but he's not really loving his life.
True, but then the irony is like, that guy is more likely to get women than the man doing his passion but lives at home and just doing nothing.
He might get women that are valuing stability over true love.
I think most women value stability though.
Over true love?
Well, what is true love?
Like feeling like they're the one you want to be with.
No,
I don't believe in soulmates, but like
Amy.
They're the one I want to be. No, because if you just wanted to go, most women could go out with someone just for stability. We'd have to really compromise our own happiness.
Well, I think a mistake people make is they think that a relationship is what's going to be responsible for their happiness.
Yeah, I agree. But also you said something earlier where you were like, I'm not getting what I'm looking for in a relationship, which is making the assumption that I'm looking for a relationship. Now it would be lovely, but there's definitely been stages of my life where I've been so content single, and I feel like men struggle to fully understand that, because not you by the way, I just mean men in general.
Yeah.
When I say, oh yeah, I'm really happy single, either much older women or men do this sort of smile, like a sympathetic head tilt, like, oh bless her, like she doesn't really mean it, but she's saying that of protecting herself. Whereas because most men aren't happy completely single, because if they had a good woman looking after them that was really hot that they couldn't wait to sleep with, they probably think that was a massive contributor to their happiness. I don't think it has to be a contributor to a lot of women's happiness. Not all women. I know a lot of women who are not happy single. In fact, I think it's probably more rare to be a happy single woman, but they still exist.
Yeah, I hear you. I think single for men, when a man says I'm happy to be single, and when a woman says I'm happy to be single, a lot of the time it means something slightly different. So for men, when he says I'm happy to be single, if he meets a woman that he would be in a relationship with, he would still choose to be single. For a lot of women, when they say I'm happy to be single, it's I've not met a man that I want to be in a relationship with, so I'm happy to wait until that happens. But if the man that you wanted to be in a relationship with came along, you would embrace it.
Yeah.
Whereas for guys, it's like...
Do you think men would do that as well?
No, we don't. So when a guy says, I'm happy to be single, it means that even if and guys do this all the time, they'll meet girls that will go, oh, she's relationship material. When I'm ready, I'm going to hit her up.
Yeah. That is true. That is true.
Because they could hit her up now, but they don't, because he's like, I'm actually preferring being single.
Hope you really enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full episode where that clip is from, then I want you to click right here where you can watch the full episode. And if you're ready to claim your man today, enroll in my program below, and I'll see you there. Wishing you an amazing day.